I'm Primal Piggy. Thank you for joining me for another BDSM United podcast. It may seem kind of awkward for me to be talking about New Year's resolutions this early in the year, but oftentimes I find that planning is best done before you even get there. And these are just suggestions, obviously. You should pick those things that you would resolve to do that you think would actually work for you. Or you could use the things that we'll discuss in today's podcast as a jumping off point for some unique resolutions of your own. But the thing that works best with any resolution is that you set a goal and then you create an action plan with actionable steps that you can really take in order to meet that goal. Well, here goes. Resolve to try a new BDSM scene regularly. Perhaps resolve to buy a new BDSM toy once a month and then do your homework on how to use it and before using it in an actual scene. If you're a Dom or a Dame, resolve to make your sub write a diary, whether regularly or only for one scene. If you're a dominant, resolve to learn a new BDSM technique every other month. That way, it gives you time in between to practice what you've learned. If you're a submissive, resolve to learn how to better communicate with your dominant. Resolve to make regular playtime in spite of work and the other demands on your life. Resolve to read your contract regularly if you have one. If you don't have a contract, resolve to make one. If you're a dominant, resolve to push your kink intensity from time to time. Just be sure that you do so within the boundaries and within the actual limits that you and your submissive have. If you're a dominant, resolve to listen to your submissive better. And we mean really actively listen. Resolve to go to a BDSM play party at a local dungeon or attend a local event such as a BDSM munch or some type of training or workshop. If there are no local events in your area, resolve to host an event of your own. We've hosted our own events, and actually, really early in my experience level with BDSM, I was hosting munches. It doesn't take a lot to host a munch. You just have to be a person of decent character and integrity. And then you just have to do a little bit of work just to find a place, invite people to be there, and do a little bit of the planning and do the invitations. If you're the dominant, resolve to ask your submissive to list his or her favorite BDSM activities and try to incorporate them into your play. Now, I realize that this is a long resolution, but that's why we're talking about them so early, so that you can take this list and begin to think about resolutions and think about what you want to do in the upcoming year. If you're a dominant, resolve to be a better dominant. Likewise, if you're a submissive, resolve to be a better submissive. Do things that cultivate your submission, things that bring out your submissive mindset. Likewise, if you're dominant, do things to cultivate dominance, things to bring out that dominant mindset. Resolve to listen to your partner more effectively. Excuse me. Resolve to discuss what you've liked and what you didn't like about your BDSM relationship in the last year. No punishment, no protocol, just an honest discussion. If you're a dominant, resolve to examine any bad decisions that you've made last year and examine them objectively, trying to look at them from all the different angles. Resolve not to repeat mistakes. This is a good one. Be sure uh, not to shame yourself and to forgive yourself, but resolve not to repeat the same things that you've done over and over again. Resolve to eliminate one habit your partner hates, such as smoking or biting your nails. Resolve to keep at least one of your resolutions. Oftentimes, people make these resolutions and they don't follow through. So be sure you set a goal and then create some actionable steps, some both short term and long term steps that you can do to actually put your feet to the fire, the rubber meeting the road on meeting those goals. Resolve to read at least one book about BDSM. With Amazon, this is too easy. There's a lot of cheap and free books out there. Uh, Resolve to discuss DS power exchange deeply with a fellow lifestyler. Resolve to raise the spiritual level of your DS relationship. Sorry, I was losing my voice for a moment there. Resolve to raise the spiritual level of your power exchange relationship. So these are some resolutions. Some of them are really deep and ongoing. Though some of them will require a lot of planning. Oftentimes, when a new year comes up, my submissive and I, we talk about some of the kinks that we want to try. And I often like to check in with her because I don't want to go into an area and start buying things or doing my homework about things that she's just not going to enjoy no matter what. And oftentimes, if there's things that I think I may enjoy, oftentimes I have to do some homework and convince her uh, that any bad experiences she's had in the past with those things, that I will not make the same mistakes and I will do these kinks better than those who did them in the past. So sometimes there's things that I initially talk about and she's uh, reserved about because of past experiences and or things that she has seen other people go through, and I have to talk about them and we have to kind of come to a compromise, and some things are just completely off the table, and so they don't need me, I don't need to give them my time and attention. As an educator, I may learn about those things, but as far as in a doing sense, I don't need to give them very much of my time and attention. That way I can focus myself on the things that we do want to do in the next coming year. Uh, in a previous year, we one of those things was rope, and so it took me about 8 months before of that year doing homework, learning about rope, learning the philosophy and the technique of rope before I actually even purchased or knew what to purchase regarding rope. That way, I didn't just go out and buy some rope. I I did the homework to make sure I got the right thing and make sure that I got the thing that would last, the thing that would be the best for our situation, for our relationship. And so there may be a certain tool or a toy that I want to try in the upcoming year, and so we'll get together and we'll come up with a list of just a handful of things. That way, I, as the dominant, can in the relationship can go away and do all of the necessary homework and research and learn as much as I can about it before we actually do the kink or add the kink or try the kink in our relationship. So, making resolutions, it's obviously way too early than the new year, but oftentimes you don't need to wait until a new year to make resolutions. You can make resolutions at any time. I'm Primal Piggy. Thank you for joining me for this unique episode because we're talking about New Year's resolutions and new resolutions and resolving to set some goals and do steps to try to reach these goals. And we're doing it at a time that is months before a new year even comes around. Uh, but you can find a lot of resources available to you from this podcast and from our related websites and pages. You can find that information at www.bdsmunited.com. Thanks for listening today. It's been a joy bringing this topic to you, and I'll talk with you again soon.